underway between government, Labour and others, but many are wondering if they're bearing any fruit. So, can we dig our way out of a recession? Can we create new jobs? Professor Nhlanhla Mbatha is the Director of the Institute for Social and Economic Research at Rhodes University. Professor, good evening to you. Thanks so much for your time. I mean, we've seen some numbers coming out of different countries that tell us how many jobs they've lost there. Is it possible at this stage to know how many jobs we in South Africa will have lost permanently?
No. So yes, so even in South Africa there have been different estimates. I mean, sometime around April, Treasury estimated that around 3 million jobs to 7 million jobs would have been lost, and then that was revised down to 1.8 million jobs. So no, we don't know at this stage, even in the way that we collect data. For example, would require that enumerators ask whether people have been looking for a job, say, in the past 2 weeks. But given the lockdown, I mean, asking a question like that would not have made sense for Status A, for example, to differentiate between the people who are narrowly employed and the people who are narrowly unemployed and the people who are broadly unemployed. So, but I think that since around about 2010, 2011, we've had an increase in unemployment of around 1% each year. And I think even without the pandemic, that would have continued to happen. So the pandemic and the lockdown came in and made the situation even worse. So I think long term, we'll probably start with the patterns before the pandemic, which were already negative. And getting out of the pandemic itself is going to be a very difficult mountain to climb.
In a way, you're pointing to one of the very sad facts of South Africa, that from the 1970s, no matter who's actually run the country, structural unemployment has risen. The number of people without jobs has risen. It started to perhaps rise more sharply now. Why is that? I mean, is it the politics that's broken? We like to blame the politicians for everything. I mean, are they the people responsible?
Well, there was a time that we had a drop in unemployment, say from around 2002 to around about, then our unemployment rate in 2002, 2003 was around about 30%, and it dropped down to about 24% around about 2006, 2007, with an increase in GDP. However, many of those jobs were being found in the informal sector. So we were having a restructuring of the economy where the formal sector was shedding jobs and more jobs were being created in the informal sector. I don't think that is solely on the shoulders of politicians in any particular country, but it's just how the global economy has been reorganizing itself. So more and more, we're finding more and more uncertainty and insecurity in the nature of work, and smaller businesses are being created or are emerging, and that's partly driven by a high level of use of technology in the workplace.
Well, I was going to come to that. The fourth industrial revolution, 5G, all of these things all play into each other. But what it really means is that if you are not coming out of school and finishing school in the first place with proper skills, you're actually going to start further and further behind. The basic education minister yesterday said we're likely to have more children dropping out of school as a result of the pandemic. This is actually a very difficult situation to get out of.
Definitely. Even without the lockdown, disadvantaged kids coming from poor backgrounds have struggled and have been dropping out more, especially out of grade 9. And some of the reasons that have often been given for the dropout of learners from high school has been to trying to support their families. Now, with a bad economic situation, parents not being able to get jobs that they may have lost, or those who were already outside the job market not being able to get into the job market, children will be forced more to becoming breadwinners, and we're going to be having more and more kids dropping out of school.
Professor Nhlanhla Mbatha, thanks very much indeed, very sobering indeed. Director of the Institute for Social and Economic Research at Rhodes University.